That's right. It's time for everyone's favorite Twitch politics show, The More Perfect Union. Covering the best in U.S. politics and Twitch political drama, we aim to disarm the left using the Constitution as our spear and shield.
The entire articulation for the use of deadly force is the imminent threat of death or great bodily harm. It has nothing to do with whether.
What was the threat?
As a matter of fact,
what was the threat?
Are you out of your mind, Gappy? You're out of your mind. Get ready.
The
to
other
clip
thing
this.
is that the cost of enamel paints and Warhammer figures has gone through the roof. When you poll foreign citizens of other countries about our president, they don't vote, and they are not representing the voice of their governments. It is true that a lot of foreign governments are glad that Joe Biden is president because they steamroll his shit left and right every way, 7 ways from Sunday. Matter of fact, twice on Sunday. I care what the American people think.
Wow, folks, I'm going to tell you right now, there's a big, gigantic story. If you happen to live in western Wisconsin, the St. Croix County Democrat Party has alleged that conservatives who attended a candidate forum at Big Guy's Barbecue in North Hudson have engaged in racist tropes. We're going to cover that in just a little bit, as well as we're going to have the owner of that establishment, Big Guy's Barbecue, Craig Lund, is going to be with us. He's going to tell us what really went down. We're going to talk about some things. There was a candidate update from Daniel Kelly. He made a pit stop in Hudson, Wisconsin today. He's in the political fight for his life against a left-wing activist, judge who hopes to be a justice, Janet Protasewicz. And he makes a compelling case. Now, if you haven't seen the interview I did with Dan Kelly on my YouTube channel, that is youtube.com/ @48 The More Perfect Union 4812. I recommend you go take a look at that. And if you happen to be somebody who lives in Wisconsin, I want you to get out there and make sure that you vote and you bring at least a dozen other people with you. Voter turnout in off-year spring elections in Wisconsin, most places, is very, very light. This is not that kind of time frame. The Supreme Court justice seat is a 10-year position. And if the seat goes for the liberals, virtually everything that Wisconsin has done that has allowed them to become more prosperous since the Scott Walker era, and Dan Kelly was actually appointed to replace a retiring justice under the Scott Walker administration. If that seat goes liberal, then virtually everything from gun rights to the question about whether or not the state should have abortion or not, all of these things are going to be on the table, and you cannot take for granted. You cannot just be complacent about that election. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to start out first with this little nightmare I like to call the St. Croix Democratic Party. The chair is a guy named Paul Hamlin, so I'm going to read off of this smaller screen here. I want you to follow along with it, but I want to tell you that and Craig Lund, the owner of Big Guy's Barbecue, is going to tell us what his thought process was. But when I read this, I think this was an interesting part. He says, "We have all seen in recent years how racism, fear, and disinformation divides communities, creates fear, and feels menacing. Some have used these tactics to divide us, and it's not just national figures. Recently in St. Joseph Township, which is a place that's about 25 miles north of me, some candidates for office, the only candidates who were at this event were conservatives. The Democrats were invited, failed to show up. They've used racial tropes to sow fear. At a recent candidate gathering at Big Guy's Barbecue in North Hudson, I love barbecue, so I'm going to have to go check it out later, some candidates used a racist lie about immigrants settling into Holton, which is a small township, by referring to the possibility of a quote-unquote Somali village. Racist tropes like this are used to promote fear of strangers and create a feeling of menace and danger. This kind of lie can ironically draw a group of people together in their fear of others, especially people they don't know. This kind of talk is the beginning of a spiral of fear and hatred that divides communities and puts barriers between people. It needs to stop. Calling out such behavior has its own risks, since calling this out can make you the enemy. We all know what it feels like. Sometimes a person who said it later claims it was just a joke, or they say maybe you can't take a joke. That let's call it what it is, racism. Now, I want you to understand that the way in which they posit this, calling out such behavior has its own risk. We all know what it feels like. And then they don't say it happened in this case. They say sometimes, sometimes. Well, we all know that there are people that are racist, right? We know that there are some people who don't like other people because of who they are, where they come from, but that's just insane. They're trying to draw a generalization to smear people who are running for an office, and they're desperate to hold on to their power. Racist hate has no place in our community. That's exactly right. It doesn't. There is no place for racism in the community, especially in the election process, especially when a political party makes a false accusation of racism. That's crazy. It's ridiculous for people to think that that's acceptable and to not do some homework and research. As the More Perfect Union has done today, we have talked to people. We have quotes from emails that people have done. We have conversations that have happened via text message. We have a a taped explanation about what actually occurred at that event from the restaurant owner who was there in attendance with his wife. And what we don't have is, despite 4 attempts to connect with the St. Croix County Democratic Party, we have no response. They won't say who it was that allegedly made the racist statement, and they won't retract it either, because they're doing what the Democratic Party has often tried to do, which is to simply throw the allegation out there, hope it sticks long enough until after the election, and then hopefully for them, it's too late to make a change. Folks, I'm here to tell you right now, we are not letting them off the hook. And it's interesting in this paragraph where they say calling out the behavior has its own risk. They're setting themselves up like they're the firefighter who sets the fire and then tries to put it out. This is a crazy attempt for them to smear somebody with the label of racism and then say that, we don't think anybody should tolerate racism, so of course we're calling it out, and we're taking the risk because we can be seen as the enemy. Let me tell you what, if you are calling out actual racism, you are not the enemy of anybody, period. They close out with, in this election, we have the opportunity to do better and to elect candidates who will do better. It can't possibly be any of the liberal candidates. It can't possibly be anybody that the St. Croix County Democratic Party supports, because if they don't denounce this racism, this racist attack by the party chairman, then they are complicit. I'm going to use the Democrats' desire to label you. If you don't resist that which is being done wrong before your eyes, you are then therefore complicit in what that activity is. And in this case, Paul Hamilton and the St. Croix County Democratic Party are a bunch of racists, plain and simple. And I've never met them. I don't know the skin color. I don't know their religion. I don't care about any of that. And as you're going to find out here in a little bit, Craig Lund is not acting in a racist capacity, because he hires a variety of people across multi-ethnic backgrounds in his restaurant. And I'll let him explain that for his own benefit. To that end, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play this interview, and I want you guys to listen to it. And I'll be right back when it's over. Give me 1 second, folks. Click. Okay, very good. Welcome to the More Perfect Union special expose for the April 4th election in St. Croix County. Apparently, the St. Croix County Democratic Party has released a missive that has indicated that candidates, some, at least quote unquote, some candidates who were participating in a candidate forum at Big Guy's Barbecue in North Hudson had used racist tropes, including during a discussion about the TIF financing and its potential ramifications for the area, that they indicated that they didn't want to see, quote unquote, a Somali village be created. I have with me the owner of Big Guy's Barbecue, Craig Lund, with me on the show right now, and I'm going to ask him to give us his take about what actually went on that night. Mr. Lund, welcome to the More Perfect Union. Tell us what your opinion is.
Thank you. Just as this happened in my restaurant, my wife Amy and I were sitting throughout the whole forum, and when I seen this email blast come through of what was being said by the St. Croix County Democratic Party, unbelievable, like absolute disbelief, because we sat through this whole entire meeting. And when they talked about the TIF funding is where this email is surrounded by, everything part of the discussion was absolutely that our area is not designed and the people are not willing to do multi-family housing, all that kind of stuff. There's no room here because the farmers do not want to sell their land. There is no infrastructure of city water, sewer, those types of things.
Oh, God bless.
The school is the biggest building.
Oh, no, go ahead. Pick it up there. I'm actually recording in Zoom, not on my
Forgive me
my
for
side
this here. I had
go ahead, pick up your thought with your last thought.
I was recording this call
that
via
out. I
Zoom
apologize.
over here, so I apologize for that.
Just with the 3-acre lot size minimum in St. Joe, this does not, and has been, though, changing the 3-acre lot down to include cluster housing and multi-family housing buildings has been voted down every single time it's ever been voted on in St. Joe. We are a bedroom community, 3-acre lots and farming. Literally, this community is able to run dirt bikes at 7 o'clock in the morning, and you're able to have bonfires and just, you're able to live. And that's what we do in this community. And there is no way that I see in the near future of putting in water and sewer and all those things through this township, which would then be needed if we're going to put in these large buildings, apartment buildings, things. But nothing about race was discussed, nothing about who would use this housing, anything like that. It was just a general talk about TIF funding and why it wouldn't work in St. Joe Township.
I have some personal experience with TIF funding. When I lived in Sidney, Nebraska, they wanted to do TIF financing to build single-family homes in order to bring new people on for the big corporate employer there, which used to be Cabela's. Cabela's was bought in 2019 by Bass Pro Shops. And I argued, I was a Cabela's employee at the time, I argued that this would be problematic because TIF funding might make sense for job creative activities like businesses to come in and things of that nature. It makes a lot less sense from a hotel, from either, not a hotel, but from a residential dwelling perspective, because it usually represents a net negative draw. And whatever they would get for like property taxes or whatever, or even, well, there's not even sales tax on rent. It would be pretty neutral to negative for the community, and just very problematic in terms of what it would do for impact of services. So I get the take that you're making, or you're making on behalf of other people, that it is a preservation of a certain way of life. And the fact is that they could, even if they changed the zoning law, they weren't likely easily going to get a buyer or a seller to part with their land in order to break that down below a 3-acre minimum. So am I characterizing that properly?
Absolutely. Totally true.
And then to be clear, it's a shame that one has to ask this kind of thing in today's modern age, but I'm going to ask it anyway, and don't take offense to it, please. Your restaurant doesn't promote racist tropes, racist behavior, tolerate racist campaigns on your property. Is that a fair statement?
Oh, totally correct.
Okay.
Not only that, we actually employ every type of human possible, because we really create an experience here that is absolutely different compared to anywhere else you're going to go.
Right on. Okay. And then what do you think? I mean, just now, this is a personal thing. So you gave me your impression about what went on. You were there. That's a firsthand account. That's not a hearsay problem or whatever. But I'm going to ask you if you have an opinion about the reason why the St. Croix County Democrats have stooped to such a level as to use racism in their campaign material.
Well, the first thing that came to my mind when I read that is basically reverse racism, race baiting. Like, they totally turned nothing into something to their narrative to help create divide and racism. And that's the bottom line.
Yeah, they go through, in their letter that they put out, they say racist tropes like these are used to promote fear of strangers and create a feeling of menace and danger. This kind of lie can ironically draw a group of people together in their fear of others, especially people they don't know. This kind of talk is the beginning of a spiral of fear and hatred that divides communities and puts barriers between people. It needs to stop. And then the second paragraph after that was that calling out such behavior has its own risk, since calling this out can make you an enemy. We all know what that feels like, or we all know what it feels like. They're literally saying in their letter, right? They're saying we're the brave ones for calling this out, but they lied. According to you today, right now on the show, they lied about what actually took place. And in furtherance of that lie, they tell multiple other lies. And I think that is super problematic. And I think it's a problem generally with discourse, and especially discourse among Democrats, is that they literally cannot not utilize any dirty trick they possibly can in order to win an election. And I think this common area of civility that they talk about, right, where they want to have civil, proper elections where the ideas are debated and then discussed, and they revert to something like this a couple of days before the election. That's just, it is antithetical to what our founders created for us as a process. And I just want to give you an opportunity to throw your final thoughts about what this letter meant to you.
Well, I'll tell you, just even how I'm feeling right now, I'm feeling very upset. And this is exactly why I was actually going to run for the town chair position here. Although a lot of the people that need to be on these boards, even in small towns, are so busy. I work 80 to 100 hours a week, and I pulled back and didn't run because I know that I couldn't give the best of my community when I work already 80 to 100 hours a week. And then to see this BS, this lie, promoted all over the place, absolute anger came to me when I read those words.
So how many people are you taking to the polls tomorrow?
I'll tell you, I am on every type of messaging I can get to personally invite people to come out there. I'm actually able to, I said, if you got kids and you can't get away, I'll come babysit. If you need a ride, we have a free shuttle for the restaurant. I will drive you there. And I'll tell you, I'm going to be surprised at how many people actually do vote this time. And I think it's going to be way up there, and it's time for some change, even at the local level.
Yeah, they talk about off-year elections, off-year, particularly off-year, and then off-year spring elections as being notoriously low turnout. And I think there may be, once this story gets out now. St. Croix County Republican Party, I've talked to them. I've been in touch with their chairman, Matt Rust, and their communications director, and they say that they're going to have a response to this. Hopefully, they're going to have it out tonight. I told them, I said, I think this is the kind of thing that you can't not let it go out tonight. You have to get it done. I'm going live with this stuff here in a little bit, and I'm going to do what I can to call out the hypocrisy in the lie. And I appreciate your time very much, Mr. Lund, for coming on board. That's Craig Lund with Big Guys Barbecue in North Hudson, giving us the real scoop, giving us the heat, giving us the smoke, low and slow, about what actually went down at the candidate forum at his restaurant earlier this week. Thanks very much, sir.
Thank you.
There we go. That was Craig Lund, owner of Big Guys Barbecue in North Hudson, talking about his firsthand refutation of the smear campaign that the St. Croix County Democratic Party launched via an email that went out on April 1st. So the fool's on them. They say they accuse somebody of being racist, and then they turn around and they say, well, but we're the guys that are fighting it, but they're the ones that actually did it. And they should, in fact, apologize. They should refute those prior claims. They should at least do what the White House does and clarify the mistakes that were sent out by their chair. So, Paul Hamilton, I implore you to do the right thing on behalf of your constituents and for the people of St. Croix County that you claim to represent interest for. There is no evidence that anybody used racist tropes or language at this candidate forum. You don't have it. You don't have a recording of it, and you won't name a name. So therefore, I call on you to retract it, because what you did in writing was libel. And you should be ashamed of yourself, and your party should be ashamed of you. Okay, so with that being done, I guess it's probably better if I actually bring myself back in, right? I mean, it's better. You could hear me, but then you just saw like a duck. I mean, actually, it's a loon. It's a very popular bird out here. They're everywhere. They make really weird noises. Anyway, that was my take on Paul Hamilton, the chairman of the Democratic County Democrats. The St. Croix County Democratic Party. He's the chair, and he's a bag of crap because he allowed something that was so despicable. If true, it's despicable. That it's a lie and he sells it as the truth is perhaps more despicable. If you guys are interested, you want to come on the old show, let me know. Come on into Discord. I'm going to go ahead and fire it up here in just a second. You guys can come in and we can talk about whatever you want to talk about here on this pre-election eve for the citizens of, citizens? You're not a citizen since after the Civil War, right? Everybody was a Virginia man or a whatever woman. But after the Civil War, we became residents of our states because the federal government just loves to exert its control. So anyway, if you want to come on board in the old Discord channel, I'm doing this quick update here that I'm going to actually kick into the live channel, and you're welcome to come on in. Yes, that'll be great. I don't even know what that happened there. Something happened. Good Lord. It's a very slow update for some odd reason. But anyway, so what's on top of your guys' list? I wasn't around today because, there's a bunch of things going on in my life today. It's kind of crazy. So I'm getting some people that may be coming on board here that are conservatives. And I'm just indicating what I'm going to be doing here in a little bit. Okay, so I just let the St. Croix County Republican Party know that I've already fired that off, and I'm just kind of looking forward to getting their response. They said that they were working on one. Don't quite have it yet. So when I get that, I'll post it, or I'll post an addendum to the show afterward on you can see our VODs here on Twitch and also on YouTube at youtube.com/@themorperfectunion 4812. Don't forget to show up and follow us, like, subscribe, do all that fun, cool stuff. And if you care to support the channel, go ahead and do that too. I certainly appreciate it. It's fantastic. We also can do donations through Venmo or whatever. Let me know if you want to help that out. I've purchased over $2,000 worth of gear in the last couple 3 weeks, and I am now field mobile, have a complete field mobile setup. And I'm going to go out there and I'm going to start working in to things where people live and bring that content, which may or may not be, the most wonderful content, I guess, for you all to have, in the Twitch space. But I'm trying to solve a problem that is, getting information out for the people that are here local, while also still, advocating for constitutional conservative values. And I think that there's a big audience, there's a fair audience here on Twitch that is really unmet, because most of the political streamers are either entertainment or they're pretty liberal. And I think that we need to do what we can to work together in order to bring that content forward and bring it forward in a cohesive message way. So now that Discord is up and properly running again, I'm just going to go ahead and put this up. If you're curious, you want to come on in, just join in the old live show, and I'll see you, and then I'll bring you in as time permits. It does whatever it does. And while I'm waiting for this, I'm going to just pop up a little message here so that it says right up underneath the old camera, so that I can spend more time looking up at you and interacting with you guys in that way. So anyway, I talked about what I did for St. Croix County Democrats. Let me show you what I sent out to them. This is last night. I'm going to go ahead and fire it up here. Do this, get out of that. Come back over here, click. This is a little feed that I've got. And so we had 3 things here. The people of St. Croix County, oh, I'm sorry, you're not seeing it, so let me do this. Click. Yeah, I want to do this in a better way, but I'm just going to read it. So the good people of St. Croix County and all its municipalities must send a message. Oh, you know what? Let me start at the beginning. Oh, my goodness. Here we go. Hello, I'm wondering if I can get an on-the-record comment related to a news release your people put out accusing candidates of racism. I'm going live with the story. This would be, I'd like to have a comment from one of the candidates who was there. Now, there were none there, but that's okay. It might be difficult since no St. Croix County Dems that supported Lib candidates actually showed up. Want to be fair and as civil as your missive rightly suggests, we would all agree that making a vile accusation of racism absenting a public confirmation is anything but civil. For the record, I have reached out to your organization several times and offered free airtime to discuss political topics of interest. The St. Croix County Dems, in fact, may be the ones leveling the racist tropes in hopes of ginning up voters for Tuesday's election. I call on the St. Croix County Dems to prove their outlandish claims or retract the lies that they have put in print. Libeling 3 candidates may be legally actionable, as freedom to speak, even about a public figure, is not a get out of jail free card when the speech is a lie. Good people of St. Croix County and all its municipalities must send a message Tuesday with Tuesday's vote against every liberal who does not denounce the illegal libel of these 3 candidates. The people deserve better than their craven political hackery. They deserve better than the St. Croix County Dems. And of course, no response, but that's, typical. I didn't expect that one would come in. And that's totally fine by me. I think it's just simply important to get the word out and to do the right thing in the right moment. And I wish I had more time this morning to follow up with this, but I actually got some other text messages from other people along the way. And one of which is from a person who's actually running for a seat. Darla is her name, and she told me, hang on, I got to pull it up. I think I got it via an email, but let me see. It's so many emails, man. I need to start putting a better filter down. You guys know how it's like. I know Wobbly does all technology and stuff. So one of the candidates, Darla Myers, actually put out that she understood that we were interviewing other people, and she thanks for the interest and support for the Constitution of the United States. And she appreciates my foundational understanding of what TIF is. So for those of you who don't know what TIF is, it stands for tax increment financing. Localities will pass a TIF bond, and they will go in debt for some money, and they will give it to a business or an organization or whatever to cover the cost of an infrastructure layout or development. And typically you see this as it's like the road, water, sewer, blah, 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 for like a business. But recently, in the last 10 or 15 years, people have been looking at it in terms of being able to expand housing, whether it's single-family housing, as was the case in Sidney, Nebraska, when I lived out there and worked for Cabela's, or it was multifamily housing that they use it because it's a fairly capitally intensive thing. And the questions where this claim of racist tropes came out was during this discussion about whether or not TIF financing was a good idea for high-density multifamily housing. And according to Ms. Myers and Craig Lund and other people, at least 2 other people, that no such conversation ever rotated around race of any kind, and certainly not the conversation that was reported by the St. Croix County Democratic Party, which was to say they were afraid that a quote-unquote Somali village was going to be created if the zoning laws were changed. And you heard Craig Lund give his take on why the people in a heavily agrarian area, all farmers, outside of the town limit itself, primarily farmers, 3-acre lots designed to give people living space so that they could live their lives in the freedom in which they would like to do. There was a compelling interest for them to be able to buy land and have it for that purpose, and to have other people say they want to take that away because they want to support a different kind of lifestyle. They want to create the suburbs in the country, and it's not racist to be opposed to not wanting your way of life to be altered. As Craig rightly says, he has a number of people that work for him of multiple ethnic backgrounds, and he does not discriminate on the basis of race or gender or whatever. So it's pathetic that the St. Croix County Democratic Party would do such a thing. And I think I think people that watch this, whether or not you live in Wisconsin or not, I think people should go on the St. Croix County Democrats website, and you should flood their zone with emails and comments. You should get out there and let them know that this is not acceptable in today's society. We can all stand and we can all agree that racism should never be tolerated. But there's a difference between discussing the impact of what something is on an economic level and then falsely twisting and contorting and twisting that around in order to make a statement about preserving a way of life as somehow the objection into something where a specific race, or not even race, a specific country's people are brought into it. And I think it's sad. And she closes out her email by thanking me. And of course, Darla Myers is one of the candidates running for town chair in St. Joseph. So, you know, that's one indication there. Another guy was a former hockey player. He was a bit livid about everything that was going on. And people are really beginning to figure this out, right? They're having some problems with the fact that this is how they're actually working. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop this show because this was specific to this racist accusation that the St. Croix County Democratic Party has leveled against conservative candidates who are running for office tomorrow, April 4th. And if you know anybody in Wisconsin, you want to give them your support, I suggest you look up Hudson County. Sorry, not Hudson County, Hudson City. Look up St. Croix County and send these guys that are running on the Republican side of the House, send them a note of support. Let them know that you care, especially those cats up in St. Joseph. So anyway, with that, I'm just going to briefly stop this stream, change the title, and then I'm going to come right back. So don't go anywhere because I'll be right back.